Good morning and welcome to Our Issues Milwaukee. I'm your host, Andrea Williams. We're getting closer to the warmer months, and our focus this morning is on positive programs that are in place to encourage neighborhood involvement and reduce violence. My first guest is a native of Milwaukee and a graduate of both Riverside High School and Marquette University. He also has a law degree from Thurgood Marshall Law School at Texas Southern University. He was elected to the Milwaukee Common Council in 2004 and has been representing his constituents ever since. Alderman of Milwaukee's 1st District, Mr. Ashanti Hamilton. Good morning.
Well, good morning. Thank you for having me on the show. I
really
appreciate it.
It is a pleasure to have you here. And as I mentioned, you've been a member of the Milwaukee Common Council since 2004. So if you could start off by kind of telling us what areas represent your district.
Yeah, in 2010, we had a little shift in the district, but just generally speaking, I represent the northeast corner of the city of Milwaukee if the city was a square. So Capitol Drive is my southern boundary. I go north all the way to Brown Deer. Glendale is my eastern boundary, and I go west to 55th Street. Okay,
that gives us a nice idea. So if you could talk about some of the things that you're currently working on in your particular district.
Yeah, well, we have a lot of things going on. I think one of the biggest initiatives that I think you would probably see in my district this summer is going to be the introduction of what we call the promise zones. What we're trying to do is try to build collaborative efforts in the community so that community-based organizations, the police department, churches, a lot of the community organizations can work together on efforts in different neighborhoods so that they can leverage the resources that they have in order to have a greater impact on, in the neighborhoods this summer. So we want to provide a lot of opportunities for youth during the summertime. Create some employment opportunities. So you may have heard of the Compete Milwaukee is an initiative that I sponsored at the City of Milwaukee along with my colleagues there to create transitional jobs throughout the City of Milwaukee.
Okay.
We're concentrating a lot of those efforts in my district. So what we want to be able to do is kind of have a wide array of opportunities this summer from people young and old to create a safer environment this summer.
And that really is what people want, because it seems every time the weather starts to warm up, you start hearing more and more about acts of violence. And whereas we all should be excited about the warm weather, there are some people who kind of cringe wondering what's going to happen next. So those are all good things to hear. And we will talk more about these promise zones, this initiative that you've put together. In 2011, you also launched in partnership with MPS and Potawatomi an initiative called Be the Change. And so that has continued to grow over the last 4 years. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, it was a really big initiative to get off the ground because of the large number of partners that we have. Urban Underground, the Running Rebels were huge partners in us being able to partner with MPS. And we had about 75 young men that participated in the program. Since the launch of it, we probably had almost 200 young men come through the doors.
Wow.
And what it is it's a literacy, life skills, and leadership program. And so the young people that participated in the program were able to get a quarter credit, English credit, while they were participating there. They got a stipend for participating during the summer so long as they had perfect attendance, participated in the programming that we had for them, and was enthusiastic about their participation. We were able to take them to Chicago and a number of other cultural events, both in Chicago and in the city, just to give them the exposure that they needed to see that things were existing outside of the block. And I think that as we were able to build this, the academic side of it is continuing to grow. We have some great new partners at the table in universal companies. And their partnership with MPS is allowing us to kind of expand on our on the types of things that we're able to offer students during the summertime, and then to be able to build that support into the school year so that they actually have mentors and tutors during the school year to help them with their academic success.
That is awesome, because when you look at scenarios, in so many cases, young people tell you that they've never even gone to some of the facilities in downtown Milwaukee.
Yeah.
So to be able to show young people that there's so much more out there, and the harder you work, all of those things are really at your beck and call, and
Right.
you can do anything you'd like to
Right.
do as long as you prepare yourself educationally and stay out of trouble.
Right.
That's the biggest thing.
That's the biggest thing. And I think that's one of the areas that we really wanted to show. One of my experiences growing up was being part of the Upward Bound program.
Yeah.
So a lot of the structure of what we do is kind of based off of that Upward Bound kind of model, and which is, you know, academics are extremely important, but your exposure to the world is something that can open up your eyes and let you know that there's a tremendous number of opportunities out there for you that extend beyond your neighborhood.
Yeah, and you've kicked off this new initiative that you spoke of right at the beginning of the show, your Promise Zones, and it's meant to encourage residents to take an active role in troubled neighborhoods and reduce violence. And it's called Helping Others Obtain Direction or HOOD. So how did you come up with this, and how would this be implemented? Tell us more about it.
Yeah, so in that component of the program, it's a safe zone model. And I really want to thank the young brothers out there that's really pointed to the fact that we really needed to get the most troubled areas in our communities involved in the effort. Khalil Coleman and Sean Moore were, they came to me and they said, okay, look, we have these larger promise zones, but within those zones, we have some really troubled areas that a lot of community organizers that, that's being paid for through other city resources are not able to penetrate. If we were able to have the opportunity to organize in those areas, we believe that we can have an impact. So they designed a way using the Cure Violence model, which is the interrupters model. A lot of folks have heard of it in Chicago. It's been instituted in Baltimore and New York. And so this kind of a model of being able to identify where you can see violence happening, encourage those folks to actually take different approaches to violence. And then being able to have a creation of community norms in that area that's sustainable after your intervention. And it's really like defining violence like a disease, and it's contagious. And so if we have a way of interrupting that, which is the term interrupters, you have a greater opportunity of stopping violence actually before it happens and creating a different atmosphere in your community. Because we feel like that violence is cultivated in many ways, and you can cultivate peace and unity the same way.
Yeah, that's good stuff. And you're going to have ambassadors working within these neighborhood safe zones. So who are the ambassadors and what's their duty, so to speak?
Yeah, so part of this creating of a culture. So the reason why it's important to try to cultivate that in the community is because you want that to be organic. And so you want people who live in those communities to actually be those ambassadors.
Yeah.
And so in many ways, they're the kind of interface between many of the community-based organizations and the neighborhood and the neighbors that kind of exist there. And so, we're hopefully with our community partners, working with Khalil and Sean Moore, because the neighborhood that we're starting in is the Garden Homes neighborhood, and we're hoping to be able to branch out to Harambe very shortly. If we're able to cultivate that with our community partners, they're already stationed in those neighborhoods. They're already servicing those neighborhoods. They already have programming happening in those neighborhoods. What we would like to do is to have ambassadors that's stationed right there that come from the community to be able to connect people to the resources that exist there. And we think that by doing that, you kind of cultivate and generate a sense of momentum in that neighborhood that they are able to see a different reality.
Yeah, and the thing is you have scenarios where people have gotten to where they just mind their own business, and if something's going on it's not their business.
Right.
But when you talk about putting the word neighbor back in neighborhood, people start to care. And I think it's powerful to take all the existing organizations that you've partnered with, and all of them come together and use their resources and work together to make this happen. I think that's awesome. And speaking of community partners, there's a long list, but I definitely want you to mention a few of those who are helping make a difference.
Right. So, and there are different partners in different neighborhoods.
Okay.
But in the Garden Homes neighborhood, so we, there's the Garden Home Neighborhood Association and the Uniting Garden Homes.
Okay.
We have the Northwest Side CDC, which is it's an organization that's already doing some organizing in that area, and they're doing some economic development things there. We have a number of churches. New Hope Church and Pastor Ivy is a partner there. The Nation of Islam and Minister William Muhammad is a partner in that area. We also have the Garden Homes Lutheran Church. That's also there. They're a partner. We have the Accent Capital Teutonia Bid, which also services the area. And we have the health department and the police department, who are all kind of working together. So we can kind of have this menu of folks who are there. As we branch out, we also have We Got This, Brother Andrea Williams.
Who will be coming up in the next segment. We'll find out more about that. Absolutely.
Excellent work throughout the city of Milwaukee.
And you also mentioned the universal companies, and then there's the I Will Not Die Young initiative. And I just think that everybody has something different to offer, and you have so many awesome people who are passionate about making a change, then this has to be successful. So I think it's important that you come here and let everybody know that it is definitely ready to take off, and we'll see what happens. When driving around the city, oftentimes we'll see makeshift memorials where people have lost their loved ones, and it just makes people really realize how much they want to see change in the city.
Sure.
So if someone out there is watching and they want to get involved, how would they do that?
Well, the first thing I would do is to tell them to recognize the community-based organizations that's operating in their community.
Okay.
Because that's going to be our first partner as we kind of solidify the model in Garden Homes and kind of build out into other neighborhoods. We're going to pull the stakeholders that already exist in that community. So that's that's going to be the key of the sustainability of the program, is getting those folks who are already working in those communities on board with the effort, and then help them with the things that they need in order to service that community. And so what we're going to do, and what you'll see throughout the course of the summer, is 3 mini summits. So we're going to have summits in each one of the zones, so that we can kind of organize these efforts within the zones with the feedback from the community. So they'll be a part of it. We'll be reaching out in those areas that that the data already shows we should be in. So this is a data-driven, place-based strategy that's proven to work in other places, not only just in the United States, but nationally. And so as people kind of get word of it, it's going to be their local community-based organization that'll be the easiest contact for them to participate. But they can also call down to City Hall, contact my office, 286-2228, to just get connected with how this is developing in their area.
And that's what it's all about, community involvement. And I'll quickly mention the 4 initial safe zones. They're 23rd and Brown, 1st and Keith, 27th and Center, and then 52nd and Hampton. And you've mentioned the Garden Homes area. You'll be in the Garden Homes Park at North 26th and Atkinson Avenue area. So people should just be on the lookout for that. Quickly, Alderman, we've heard in the news lately a large number of auto thefts. The numbers are extremely high, and we haven't even made it to the summer yet. And those car thefts are mostly pointing towards young people, teenagers, young adults, and it's getting out of hand, and people are concerned. Has this been a conversation in the Common Council? Because lawmakers have said they would like to see harsher penalties.
Sure. I think this sparks a very important conversation for us, right? This is something that we've talked about almost on an annual basis, right? I'm 10 years at the council now. Almost every year, whether we're talking about homicides, auto thefts, burglaries, or whatever the flavor of the crime is this summer, what is it that we can do in order? You're already anticipating this activity. So what our focus is now, and I think we're better positioned this time around than we have ever been in the past, to create a structure around how do you intervene in this activity? How do you interrupt this cycle that we see happen every summer? And so what I think that we'll be able to do now is provide a large number of activities that we can direct young people to, and then have a different approach to the way that we define this activity. I do have a disagreement with the chief about the response that every single time our only response to this has to be harsher penalties, because next year when it's not auto thefts anymore, when it's another type of crime, the harsher penalties will still be there for this type of activity. If we were able to kind of redefine how we're approaching this, and not necessarily see all of the perpetrators, kind of lump them all together, right? Because there are some really bad perpetrators out there, and there may be a small number of them. Out of the five, when we took a look at last year's approximately 500 car thefts, they said that about 300 of them were repeat offenders. What if we were able to have a way of redirecting those offenders, those repeat offenders, and having something that was actually beneficial for them to redirect their activity? Because much of that second penalty, which is kind of what the suggestion is having whatever that second penalty is actually be the first penalty, and so they face that harsher second offense penalty the first time around. You're going to lump a lot of other people into that first category,
and then they get stuck into that cycle.
And then they're going to get put into into a prison cycle, the pipeline, the prison cycle, which also exacerbates the problem. It makes it worse. But if our approach was a little bit different, because our initial response tends to be, it tends to be heavy-handed and cold-hearted when it comes to our community. And so what we're suggesting is that a different way of approaching this will actually have a better result, not only just for the individual who's committing the crime, but for the communities that they come from.
All right, that's a great way to wrap up this segment. Thank you for all of your hard work and continued success with everything that you're doing.
Thank you so much, Andrea.
Ashanti Hamilton is the alderman for Milwaukee's 1st District, and you can keep up with what's going on in his district and the work he's doing in the Common Council by logging on to milwaukee.gov or by calling his office at 414-286-2228. When we return to Our Issues Milwaukee, we'll revisit a conversation that we had on this show last year and get an update on the We Got This program created by community activist Andrea Williams, and we'll also find out what's in store for this upcoming summer. We'll do it right after this.